In any political campaign, the battle of the airwaves, which now includes the phones in our pockets as much as the TVs on the walls, requires playing both offense and defense. Offense requires sharing our candidate's ideas and plans and attesting to his or her character. This must be primarily a positive message, which is what some of us wish politics were about more of the time. Defense requires calling out all the opposition's lies and attempts to sow division, exposing them for the utter bullshit they are. There's still a place for inspirational rhetoric, but this is what politics is, or seems to be, all about all too often, especially now. Last time around, 2016, did you get out there and inform everyone you could find about Hillary Clinton's plans on taxes, community colleges, jobs, and wages? Probably not, or very infrequently. I know I failed on that score. I spent all of my time and energy retweeting coverage of the latest Trump outrage. And while all this outrage certainly didn't motivate many of us, we did not help the candidate reach potential supporters with their economic message. And of course, the press paid close to zero attention to that part of her platform, or any of it, because that's how the press rolls these days. The big three TV networks spent only 32 minutes on issue coverage in 2016. Press coverage of campaigns has become more Jerry Springer, less Walter Cronkite. A good defensive campaign against lies and fabrications is necessary, and the discussion of how best to play defense follows. But we cannot let ourselves disappear down this toxic rabbit hole. We must take command of the conversation, play offense, by painting the contrast between the incumbent and our Democratic nominee, by emphasizing the positive case for our nominee, by motivating the individual voter to do just that, vote for something, not just against. I'd like to talk about the more pleasant task first. In the Trump era, most voters are locked in. About 65 million of us, the number I cited in the introduction, are very unlikely to vote for the man. Hashtag never Trump. About 60 million are very unlikely to vote against him. The vast majority of these Trump supporters have not wavered and never will, no matter the evidence, not even if their lives have been made demonstrably worse by his actions and policies. Clinton famously denigrated half of these folks as deplorables. Some clearly are, but that was a lot of eggs to put in that basket, and it was self-evident enough without having to step on a political landmine to underline it. Did the comment have any effect? I haven't seen any conclusive data, but it did turn into a rallying cry that likely increased GOP enthusiasm and activism. My point is, let's not worry about people we can't convince, or who fall into the trap of thinking, how can all these people vote against their own self-interest? Seriously, get rid of that kind of thinking. People like to define their own self-interest, not be lectured to from an ivory tower about what it should be. Let's focus on those who are gettable. In the impending election, there will be plenty of Americans who are going to vote. We'll address those who are at risk of not voting in a later chapter. And a portion of these definitely voting voters are not locked in, which to us has to mean that they may vote for the Democrat. They're real, not mythical. They don't look like unicorns. They're as ordinary as the neighbor next door, and we can win some of these good people. In 2020, they'll likely fall into the following categories. First-time voters. Historically, this cohort skews heavily Democratic, but we absolutely cannot take them for granted. Some will be undecided. Third-party voters. A higher percentage of Clinton's voters than Trump's who were flirting with a third-party vote never came home to her, based on exit polls and other post-election research. It could have been in part because while clearly these voters did not love Clinton, they loved Trump less, but they thought she was going to win, so it was okay to cast a protest vote. The votes collected by the Libertarian Party's Gary Johnson and the Green Party's Jill Stein were not an insignificant factor in her loss and may have turned the election. The math is straightforward. Trump's ceiling was 46% nationally and 47 to 48% in key battlegrounds. He won the critical state of Wisconsin with just 47.2% of the vote. The two main third parties accounted for almost 6% of all votes cast. It was the largest percentage for third parties since the Perot years. In 2020, Trump's ceiling may still be in the same range as in 2016, not 50%. All of the possible third-party voters won't vote Democratic, but we need to bring on board as many of them as we can to make his win number as high as possible, and therefore not attainable.